Another busy week at Georgia and certainly in the SEC. I've got a lot to talk about. Gus Malzahn leaving Auburn, fired from Auburn. You've got signing day this week and Georgia creeping up in the rankings and the polls. Will they play against Vanderbilt this week? Got all that right now for you. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Really a busy week on Dog Post. We've got a game that's scheduled on Saturday. Obviously, that's a huge thing over on the site. But signing day is on Wednesday. We do expect a couple of guys to jump on board who are not committed right now. I talk about that on the site quite a bit, so make sure you're going over there to dogpost.com for more. One other thing on the recruiting front, five-star quarterback and Georgia commit Brock Vandergrift advancing this past weekend over Eagles Landing Christian Academy, a school that's won multiple state championships in a row. So, this is a busy week for the Dogs and all things recruiting as well as for the football team. You've got the Florida loss to LSU, which I've not talked to this audience about yet. It's really been a busy, head-spinning time. I mean, the biggest thing right now with Gus Malzahn not being at Auburn from here on out, that's a changing thing. I mean, that is a big deal for sure at Georgia, at Auburn, at Alabama, at schools like that. You've got the Power Six in the SEC, the traditional six schools: Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and LSU. Those are the traditional six. Certainly, Texas A&M is trying to jump their way into there right now, and Tennessee's trying to figure out how to get out of it. But when one of the coaches at those schools gets replaced, it has ramifications around the league and around Georgia and Auburn have for years and decades recruited against one another. Will this change at Auburn modify what's going on in the recruiting world with Georgia and Auburn? I mean, that's a good question. It depends on who's going to be the coach. And that's something we'll monitor as time goes on. But this Georgia team, its explosion, this offense has become deadly. And that's the biggest thing to focus on this week is, can Georgia continue to replicate this sort of offensive firepower as the season goes on? It's hard to imagine that they can't. I mean, when you look at Vanderbilt coming in this week, a team that has really struggled the entire year. They do not have their head coach. Now, this is the third SEC coach, just going off the top of my head, who has been let go. Auburn, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina. Two of those have not been filled. Of course, the only one Georgia was worried about this week is Vandy. So can Georgia continue what they've been doing against Vanderbilt? This line came out at 35 points once it settled down. It opened at 40. 40. That would have been the highest line ever for Georgia in a conference game. 35 is teetering on the highest. So this is a total mismatch in every sense of the word. Vanderbilt, if they play this game, is way outmanned. Just outgunned in every single scenario. But the big thing for Georgia is to continue to pile up yards, points, and progress as an offense. This is what we were told to watch out for this season when Todd Monken came aboard. He has been in control of some of the most explosive offenses in college football over the last 11 years. So that Georgia is all of a sudden zipping towards 50 points. It's not surprising. I mean, they shut it down in many ways that second half against Mizzou. But the precision of Georgia on offense, the explosion, really, more than the precision, the explosion, 77% of Georgia's yards yesterday, I'm taping this on a Sunday, 77% of the yards in Columbia, Missouri were on explosive big plays. They had 18 big plays. Georgia had 18 big plays. That is a stunning percentage of yards to have come off that few plays. I mean, that's what you want. You want to score like Florida, Clemson, Alabama? You are now. And you're scoring at a rate that teams are just going to have a hard time stopping as we move on. Now, can things get better? Yeah, I mean, Georgia's clicking, but they're not perfect. And with JT Daniels, there were no balls there was one ball maybe that was put in harm's way, and I think that's really pushing it. Frankly, it was a ball. I was up in the press box, and it's hard to remember, but it was a ball away. It was on the Georgia sideline. They threw it, but it ended up being a catch. So I don't even know, really. It may have just been my view of it up so far away in the press box that he put that in harm's way. But I don't even know if that's the case. So one ball that you put in harm's way of about 20 or 30 balls, that's just not that big of a deal. So no interceptions, another almost 300-yard performance, 299 yards. Georgia's run game was ridiculous. So this offense has caught its breath. We're on quarterback number 3, and now you're starting to see where this could go. Kirby the other day was telling us we're nine games into this now. We're not figuring things out anymore. We know what we're doing more. Those are my words, not his. But it makes sense. I mean, this isn't Jermaine Burton's first game. Obviously, this is the third game that JT Daniels has played with guys like George Pickens, etc. But this is the 5th month or 4th month that they've been together. What's it going to be like when they've been together for 16 months? This time next year. What's it going to be like when this offense gets a spring to roll on through and you can develop more playmakers that are available to you? You can do gadget stuff, perhaps, with guys like Brock Vandegrift or Dominique Blaylock, when those guys aren't playing this year for obvious reasons. One's injured, one's in high school. So what happens when you progress as an offense? What should the expectation be moving forward in 2021? And I know I'm going to talk about that a lot over time, but the way that this offense has exploded is really, I'm sure, making Kirby Smart very, very happy, because the one thing that's been missing since, I don't know, certainly all of last year, is explosion from the offense. It's not been there. It's there right now. I mean, it's there right now, and how? I mean, they're not having to fight this game out. The last game against South Carolina, they're not fighting it out. I mean, yeah, you want to say they did fight it out with Mississippi State. Perhaps in a way that they didn't want to. Nobody wants to go down to the wire, if you even want to call it that, with Mississippi State. But it can't be surprising that we're this many games or months into it, and now all of a sudden, all of the pieces of the sausage have been made. And now Georgia's not making sausage anymore, they're eating it. And, the other team is eating it, because it's becoming very difficult to stop these guys. They're not a machine yet. There are still issues. I mean, when you had those 3 punts in the second quarter, that was a result of Mizzou really bringing guys, and Georgia just did not block them as an offensive line. You're not going to score. You're not going to score on every drive, but if you're Georgia and you have the type of efficiency that they have had lately on offense, that's something that you can really build on. Will JT Daniels come back? I don't know the answer to that, but he's here right now, and it seems like he'll probably be here in a year. We'll see. But, that Missouri game, just to take you through those drives real quick, you're talking about Georgia scoring on their first 2 drives, then punting 3 times in the second quarter. They didn't punt after that. Touchdown, 3 punts in a row. One of those being a 3 and out, getting no yards. I mean, no wonder it didn't look good for a second there. And then touchdown, field goal again attempt, and then basically the clock ran out on the last drive. I don't know. I thought this would happen. I thought they would be explosive, but they didn't have the right thing at quarterback at the time. they weren't explosive with Dwan. They were not explosive really with Stetson, with the exception of a few plays here and there. Now they're explosive, and they're getting to the point where they're scary. Can they keep this up? I think they can this year. And we're just going to, the bowl game is really important for a couple of different reasons. We'll talk about that more in the future. Make sure you're going to dogpost.com. We'll see you on the website, but I want you see the screen here. Check out Brock. This is a playlist. You watch him. I've seen him live 5 times. You can watch him. See for yourself. Thanks for watching.